Viewers, it's the third consecutive day and a nightmare for air travelers. IndiGo flights are being cancelled, causing major inconvenience to passengers across the country. Hundreds of flights are being cancelled on a daily basis. This mess started on Tuesday, the 2nd of December, with around 140 flights getting hit. Then on 3rd, around 130 flights were cancelled, and today, close to 300 flights, we are told. Viewers, this marks one of the biggest meltdowns of any airline in aviation history. Now, what are we talking about? This is the big update that we have on the show. Top sources telling Times Now that IndiGo had requested to put new FDTL norms in abeyance till travel season, and DGCA has said that they will examine the request. The Ministry of Civil Aviation slammed IndiGo at the meeting that took place today, saying that they should have prepared their plan beforehand. Asked why was hiring not done earlier? Today was one of the worst days that hit the airports, and government has spoken to all airport directors, guided them to help airlines in making operations smooth. ATCs have been spoken to as well, giving directions for smooth operations. Let's go across to Shefali. Shefali, one thing is very clear, that the airline is certainly going to have to pay for the kind of mistakes in terms of its own planning, because this is all very well known. The DGCA, the Civil Aviation Ministry, are now asking tough questions of why IndiGo was not prepared enough to deal with this situation.
Right, Madhav. IndiGo has also accepted here that, saying that the disruptions have arisen primarily because of the misjudgment and planning gaps in implementing the phase 2 of FDTL car, and they have said that the actual crew requirement for the new car exceeded their anticipation. So this is big from IndiGo now accepting their mistake, and apart from that, they have also requested DGCA and the ministry to give them some relief or exemption from the new FDTL car, and they have asked to give this relief till 10th of February 2026, when the travel season will likely to end.
Right, let's see whether DGCA does give that kind of relief or not. Shefali, thanks so much for getting us that breaking input. Let's take this across, in fact, to some more information that we have in terms of what really has transpired, because it's important to understand the larger picture. In terms of the flights cancelled on the 2nd of December, that was day 1, it was 140 flights. On 3rd, it was 130 flights. On December 4th, day 3, that is 300 plus flights have been cancelled. Are we only looking at a situation where it's going to get much worse before it gets any better? Join us for the debate on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Taking that across to our guest, we have C.S. Randhawa, President of the Federation of Indian Pilots. Captain Ahsan Khalid is ex-airline captain and instructor as well as examiner. He's a veteran IF pilot as well. Neetu Shukla is ex-in-flight director of Kingfisher Airlines. Saroj Dabania, aviation lawyer, is with us. We also have Dr. Anand Raghunathan, author, joining us on the show. Let me take this first across to C.S. Randhawa. And Captain Randhawa, the point being made over here is that how could this kind of fiasco have happened where the airline says that it was not properly prepared? Was this some kind of an attempt to browbeat the government? Because now they are demanding an increase in, some kind of exemption as far as the FDTL norms are concerned. But they all knew this was coming.
After the High Court had given decision on the implementation of the CR, FDTL CR in June, all airlines were summoned by DGCA to decide on the dates of implementation, because we wanted an immediate implementation from the Federation of Indian Pilots, and the airlines, they persisted that the first phase of implementation has to be 1st of July, and the second part of the implementation can go up to 1st of November. This was agreed by all the airlines. So there was no cancellation. Major part of the FDTL was actually, the major part of the FDTL was actually, it was accepted and also adhered by the airlines, and all the airlines adhered to it, and there were no cancellations and delays. The rest time, a major part of the FDTL CR was implemented. The balance of it was done on 1st of November. Now, from 1st of November till 30th of November, why there are no cancellations, no delays? The second phase was again activated. The third thing, there has been a 6% increase in the flight schedules which IndiGo has put. Why this is not being brought up in the media, and how has DGCA accepted and approved these particular increase in the schedule of IndiGo? So these are all unanswered. Last 28th to 30th of November, there was an update of the software to be taken place in IndiGo. 200 aircraft were affected. Again, there were no cancellations and delays. This is a deliberate attempt by the airline to arm twist the government of India at a juncture when the parliament is in session, to make sure that the FDTL is not implemented.
And this is really sad because it's ultimately the traveling public, the common man, you and me, who are impacted by this. And let me bring in Saroj Tawania. Is this nothing but a blackmailing attempt, as is being suggested by the previous speaker? Because if they had adequate notice, they should have taken enough measures. Yet they didn't do that to try and make a spectacle of it at the cost of the traveling public. There could be people who are traveling in emergencies. We don't know. But look at the kind of difficulties and chaotic scenes that we're seeing coming in from different airports across the country. Mr. Damania.
No, it was a really sad situation where today I was also traveling. I was also at the Mumbai airport. Of course, the situation is very bad. Travelers are running from pillar to post to find out about their flights. But something is there, of course, whatever the reason the airline might have done it, not done it deliberately. But right now, the DGCA or the Aviation Ministry should immediately step in to resolve the situation. Right now, it is not about blackmailing the government or the airline doing something. There is no solution for the common man, which is the traveler who is suffering in the end. So, of course, if they are asking for an exemption or something for 2-3 months, that is, of course, the wrong thing. But at least a little some relief or some side of relief should be given by the government so that the flights come back to schedule and the common man doesn't suffer. Here, what is happening in the fight between the DGCA and the IndiGo, the only real sufferer is the passenger who is actually stranded at the airport. So, DGCA is the ministry for the people, so they should step in. IndiGo is the largest domestic carrier.
Yeah.
So we need to have the largest domestic carrier in place. You can't have...
All right, there's some breaking updates coming. It's been a harrowing day for passengers, and this particular example that we're going to show you just highlights how bad it's been. Let's listen to this audio note by a distressed passenger who talks about the extent of this fiasco, because she says her flight to Ranchi was at 3:30 p.m. It was cancelled. They did not give her luggage back, so she left the airport on a bike. Also claims that 2 people fainted and the airline did nothing and didn't provide water. Listen into this.
So basically मेरी आज फ्लाइट थी दिल्ली टू रांची, जो 3:30 की फ्लाइट थी. तो ये डिले करते गए कि अभी फ्लाई करेंगे. किसी को कुछ नहीं लेना देना, कोई काउंटर्स पे नहीं है यार, ग्राउंड स्टाफ ही नहीं है, फ्लाइट को सीधे करने के लिए कोई नहीं नीचे ग्राउंड पे. एंड फिर 6 बजे के आसपास एवरीबडी स्टार्टेड शाउटिंग. दे सेड कि लगेज जिनको नहीं जाना कैंसिल करना है ले लो, लगेज कलेक्ट कर लो. लगेज का कोई अता पता ही नहीं है. लोगों की मेडिसिन है, लोगों की कनेक्टिंग फ्लाइट्स है, फॉरेनर्स को अपने आगे जाना है. नो clue.
With us, Megha, one of the things that you said is very shocking, that passengers fainted and nobody did anything to help them.
So, I've never experienced this kind of a thing ever in my life. So I reached the airport at 12 o'clock today, and they kept the issue that everybody had was, अगर आपको पता था pilots नहीं है, crew नहीं है, तो आपने check-in क्यों किया हमारा luggage? Why did you check in our luggage to only tell us that now the luggage you'll get within next 7 days? There were people crying. They had insulin injections in the luggage. They had their house keys in the luggage, and they were told that we cannot help you. We'll just note down the numbers and we'll call you when the luggage is ready. There were foreigners who had to travel to Australia. There were foreigners who had to travel to US. They were literally crying out there. If there were 500, 600, 700 people stranded there, there were only 5 or 7 staff. Where is the staff? I can't even tell you. There were cabs who were charging 5,000 from the airport to come back to Gurgaon or to Delhi, and I had no choice but to first time ever take a bike and come back to my house. So This is one of the worst experiences. There was an old man who almost fainted there, and people were only helping people. They were providing water. There was nobody to help. And rest, you've seen the videos
this is just beyond belief. This is the status to which Indian aviation has been reduced. You know, this is such a joke. Anand Raghunathan is with us. Anand Raghunathan, I mean, look at the kind of harrowing experience this young lady has had to go through. One hopes that no passenger in India ever has to go through this again. Imagine international passengers, their baggage gets stuck, people's house keys, those who have to travel abroad to other countries miss their connecting flights. I mean, how can Indian aviation be reduced to this kind of a joke? One refuses and fails to understand.
Good evening, Madhav, and good evening to my fellow panelists. I speak here purely as a layman. There are clearly experts on the panel, but I'd like to say this. It really has fructified the often used cliche, fly-by-night operators. I am just absolutely shocked, and I've had at least since morning 3 friends who've had to face an ordeal that the lady has just recounted, something similar. This is astonishing and it should be totally unacceptable. But first and foremost, I want to draw a parallel. You have a similar fiasco on a much lesser scale that happens almost routinely in states or at the central government level. What's the first thing you do as media, as people? You clamor for somebody at the top trying to give a justification or coming on the media. I want to ask, where is the CEO, Peter Albers? Where is he hiding? What's he doing? I hope Times not tried to contact him. This is unacceptable because, as one gentleman rightly pointed out, this is based on the High Court order. The first phase was to be implemented in July. The second phase kicked in November. All the other airlines are following the same FDTL or FSDL. What is the problem of IndiGo? I'll tell you why. Because they tried to cut corners. This has all come together as a perfect storm. But again, I repeat, every passenger not only has to be compensated for the ticket money, he or she has to be given at least twice that amount. The airline has to apologize. The airline may be suspended for some time. The airline CEO has to come out. Where is Peter Albers?
Absolutely. The airline certainly has to come out. And let me get in fact, Captain Ehsan Khalid, we have some big news coming in as well. Captain Khalid, I want you to answer this. What explains this kind of an entitled behavior? Is it because they believe they're the biggest airline, so the country can't do without them? And why have we allowed a situation of a monopoly or a duopoly? Because they want dispensation from every rule. Even after High Court orders, they want FDTL norms to be postponed. You have another airline which wants, poaching and anti-poaching not to be allowed. What's going on in Indian aviation? Because here you have a situation where either they're so used to buying their way through things or bullying their way through things that is allowing this kind of a brazen attitude where common men and women are suffering. Captain Khalid.
Okay, Madhav, good evening, and thank you for calling me over here. It is a mixture of all the things that you just now brought out, bullying and buying being 2 major one of them. I think what changed their position of bargain or bullying or bulldozing the way through was Ahmedabad crash. After that, every person in authority, whether in court or in DGCA, was not ready to give the extension to flight safety norms like they were doing it before the Ahmedabad crash. That is why this airline or all the airlines have been taken by surprise. If there was no Ahmedabad crash, I think they would have got another 6 months of extension and thereafter another 6 months, because you must understand they have been dragging it over for last 2 years. Airlines per se is being run by the commercial interest. What would surprise your viewers is that for last 1 decade or more, these airlines have not invested into basic pilot training expense. They do not spend even a single pie in creating a pilot who is their backbone. The pilot force is a backbone, but they would want each youngster to put in 1.5 crore rupees from their pocket and thereafter drag their, for 5 years, they keep them on salary, which is maybe 1/4 of the international norm. And thereafter, they expect them to be bounded by the service norms once they become captain status. And you see, it is not by virtue of anything else other than cutting corners that IndiGo airline has double profit per aircraft as compared to any other airline of the world.
corners, but at what cost? I mean, is this the kind of cost that we have to pay? And why should citizens have to pay for it in 2025? This is a response coming in from the Ministry of Civil Aviation. This is the breaking update coming in that the Civil Aviation Minister has expressed displeasure regarding the manner in which the situation has been handled by the airline. He stressed that ample preparatory time had been available to ensure seamless transition to the new regulatory requirements and have directed IndiGo to urgently normalize operations and to ensure that there's no increase in airfares due to the current situation. Let me take this across to Neetu Shukla. Neetu Shukla, this is completely unacceptable. But the big question is, what was the minister and DGCA doing? They should have known in advance that IndiGo is not prepared. They don't even have the adequate staff at the airport, as one of the passengers who's traveled today is telling us.
So I'd like to raise a few points. Firstly, they had a 1-year lead time to recruit people. They should have recruited their commanders. They should have trained commanders. They should have done something about it. Secondly, they could have got expat pilots. They did not even invest in expat pilots. DGCA comes up with these FDTL norms after doing a lot of scientific studies. And as rightly said earlier, the Air India crash has just highlighted further the need for rest by pilots because there are a lot of lives at stake. It's not like a corporate job where you can go and do a job and come back and you're still fine if you're not fully awake and in your senses. This needs total attention. Why weren't expat pilots brought in? If that was not done, on what basis did DGCA allot those winter schedules to the airline, not without checking the capacity of their trained pilots? Why were those schedules allotted to IndiGo? Why weren't their schedules reduced? I think the fact that they had few people at the airport to take care of the chaos is very deliberate because it's only basis this chaos that they would be able to negotiate for rolling back the FDTL. So I think that's a very calculated move, and this noise is exactly what fits into their narrative, what it looks like, because if for 1 year you've done nothing about it, you clearly did not want to do anything about it.
That's a big question indeed. And, let me quickly bring in fact, our passenger back in on this. And Megha, I'd like you to tell us, what would you like to tell the government that they should do immediately to ensure that such things don't happen? Because I'm told that even communication to passengers has been very, very poor over the last 3 days. Were you told in time that there could be delays? There's a possibility of cancellations even? Megha, can you hear me?
Yes.
No.
So, while I'm talking to you guys, I just received a message from IndiGo that thank you for joining online and thank you for your bag tag. I'm getting a message at this hour, 10:32, when I've just reached home. I'm getting a message that thank you for checking in. What checking in? When I asked at the counter about the money refund for my flights, I was told that please call the toll-free number once you get back home. As I look at the mess, there are 100,000 people at the airport and you're asking me to call when you are not able to attend to us right here and talk about the refund. There was a kilometer-long line for people wanting to know about the refund. And there were for 100, 200, 300 people, there was only one staff. My only request to the government is that, if these airlines can be held more accountable for their actions, because I might be traveling for something, but there are people traveling to see their old parents. There are people traveling to see somebody, who's in need. So today, what I saw at the airport was sheer nuisance, where there are people, everybody was helpless. And not just us, I literally saw foreigners crying, and there's like, what is this?
Absolutely.
My only request is that all these airlines should be held more accountable for...
Shameful is the only way to describe this. Shameful and shocking. Completely letting down the same passengers whose money, by the way, has built the airline and has taken it to this level. Captain Radhav, I want you to come in on this. What else is this if not negligence and deliberate at that?
First and foremost thing I want to say is that the DGCA came out with what is the facilitation to be given to the passengers in case of cancellations, in case of delays. Everything is gone out of the window. You can say today there is a shortage of pilots. So that is one aspect of it, that it has caused the disruption. As I told you, this is orchestrated move. There was no cancellations till till 30th of November. How come it has started from 1st of December? Did a bomb explode? That it has to start on a particular day because the parliament is in session. They want to exercise pressure on the government to delay the implementation of the FDTL rules. Now, if I tell you correctly, I have talked to a lot of IndiGo pilots. At smaller bases, the pilots are flying approximately 55 hours, and at larger bases, they are flying about 70 hours. So there is a lot of scope for the pilots to fly. Secondly, why the DGCA has given them 6% extension in the schedule? Why? If there were no pilots, okay, and they are quoting all wrong reasons. Weather, where is the fog? Not even in Leh or Srinagar, no part of India.
Right.
The airport congestion they are calling. What congestion? That congestion has been existing 1 year back, 6 months back, and even now. I feel that is a very important move for the government to step in, and the CEO of IndiGo should be sacked. He doesn't deserve to be there. He is not even visible at the airport. What a thing to be done by the largest airline, and a duopoly now dictating terms to the government of India to delay safety.
Captain Khalid, what's the exemplary move that needs to be taken to ensure accountability, to ensure that this doesn't happen again to any other passenger, leave alone Megha, who's with us?
I think, like Captain Randhawa said, that if 48 hours before all the passengers were going on time or reasonably on time, then they could go even now. Okay. Government must impose financial penalties for each cancellations, and passengers must be compensated not by the return of the money that they have to pay, but by the amount of money that they need to buy the ticket for the same one. Because mind you, there are two facets to it. The lady here may have taken a ticket for 5,000 rupees to go to a destination. Now she has to spend 15,000 rupees for the same destination.
Absolutely.
After late.
So the airline has to compensate that. We have one of our callers who's joining us. One of our viewers is with us, Mahesh Kumar from Pune. Yes, Mahesh. What do you have to share?
Yeah, Madhav, it's a funny situation we are living in. The airline companies are behaving like a mafia, and nobody's bothered. They can arm twist customer like anything. Do you know the airport rates outside? Hotel rates, it's running 60,000, 70,000 rand, and I'm talking about the motels. I'm not talking even a 3-star hotel.
My God. And where is this? This is in Pune.
My son has come from Pune, US. Morning he landed and he was to take a flight to Pune. He's stuck up there now. So if he has to stay night stay, where does he do? He doesn't have any alternative. 60,000 rupees he can't pay.
Shocking state of affairs. And just look at the kind of, spillover effect that one airline's incompetence, deliberate attempt, blackmail, whatever one chooses to call this, has as far as the entire civil aviation ecosystem is concerned, the universe is concerned. This is the kind of shocking situation that exists on ground. There are sob stories and such shocking tales that are coming in from across the country. I don't think we've been able to do enough justice to it, but we're going to continue to track this story and continue to demand justice for all of those passengers until there is some kind of accountability that is fixed. I'd like to thank Captain Randhawa, Captain Khalid, Neetu Shukla, Saroj Damania, Dr. Ranganathan and Megha for joining us and sharing with us her story.
The News Hour at